Russia's been preparing for war with NATO for years. Mock exercises, strategic positioning, intelligence gathering, military buildups along the Finnish and Norwegian borders. They've war-gamed the scenario 1,000 times. There's just one tiny problem with Moscow's master plan. They prepared for the wrong enemy. See, Russia spent decades planning to fight NATO, the bureaucratic, US-dominated alliance where Germany debates for 6 months before sending helmets and France threatens to veto everything. But what Russia didn't prepare for? A fully armed, pissed-off Europe that's spending money like the Cold War never ended, building weapons faster than Russia can count them, and, here's the kicker, doing it without waiting for American permission. Today, you're going to discover why Russia's entire military strategy is based on an enemy that no longer exists, and why Moscow is about to learn a very expensive lesson about European resolve. Buckle up. Let's start with what Russia's actually been doing, because Moscow hasn't been subtle about preparing for NATO conflict. Like the Russian intelligence community, the Russian military is actively preparing for war with NATO, says Joseph Fitsanakis, assistant director at the Center for Applied Intelligence Studies. That's not speculation, that's an assessment from Western intelligence agencies who've been watching Russia's preparations accelerate. German intelligence chief Martin Jaeger warned in October 2025 that Russia could launch a military confrontation with NATO at any time, not 2029 now. Russia will not shy away from direct military confrontation with NATO if necessary, he told German lawmakers. Inspector General of the Bundeswehr, Carsten Breuer, put it more specifically, Russia will be militarily ready to attack NATO by 2029, based on our analysis, and Russia's backing up the threats with action. Russia's military spending reached 120 billion euros in 2025, over 6% of GDP, nearly quadrupling their 2021 defense budget. For context, that's 19% of all Russian government spending. 1 in 5 rubles goes to the military. They're expanding active forces to 1.5 million troops, building tank production capacity targeting over 2,000 modern T-90 variants by 2036, ramping up drone production to levels that can launch 800 drone raids on Ukrainian cities. Internal documents from Uralvagonzavod, Russia's primary tank manufacturer, show plans to increase T-90 production by 80% by 2028. They're aiming for 428 combined T-90M and T-90M2 tanks annually by 2028. This isn't just replacing Ukraine losses, this is building capacity for future wars. But Russia's not just preparing conventional forces, they're already executing Phase 0 operations, the preparatory phase before open conflict. Shadow fleet operations in the Baltics spying on NATO communications, drone swarms shutting down airports in Copenhagen, Norway, Czech Republic, sabotage of undersea cables and rail lines, weaponized migration at the Polish-Belarus border, Russia's testing NATO's readiness, probing for weaknesses, gathering intelligence, and preparing the informational battlefield. Moscow's plan is clear: overwhelm NATO with hybrid warfare, exploit divisions between members, and strike before the alliance can mobilize effectively. They're betting that Germany will urge caution, France will prioritize diplomacy, Southern Europe won't care about the Baltics, and America might not show up. That strategy? It was brilliant, past tense, because Russia built their entire approach around fighting an alliance that stopped existing about 3 years ago. Let's talk about the NATO Russia prepared to fight, because understanding what Moscow expected makes their current situation absolutely hilarious. Russia's military planners studied NATO for decades, and here's what they saw: an alliance dominated by the United States, where European members barely spent on defense. Germany at 1.2% of GDP. Spain literally spent the same in 2022 as they did in 2008. Italy was stagnant for a decade. European militaries with equipment shortages, aging platforms, and zero political will to actually fight. Germany's Bundeswehr with 60% of vehicles non-operational. France prioritizing African operations over European defense. And most importantly, an alliance paralyzed by bureaucracy. Every decision requires consensus among 30-plus members. Debates lasting months over whether to send defensive weapons. Russia's entire doctrine assumed that attacking a NATO country would trigger endless debates. Should we invoke Article 5? What does armed attack really mean? Can we just strongly condemn instead? By the time NATO decided to respond, Russia would control the Baltics, establish facts on the ground, and negotiate from strength. Moscow was particularly confident about exploiting divisions, Germany's Russia-friendly business lobby opposing military action, France wanting strategic autonomy from America, Hungary and Turkey blocking consensus, Southern Europe not caring about Eastern threats, America potentially walking away under Trump. And Trump's return to the White House in 2025 seemed to confirm every Russian assumption. Trump questioning NATO's value, demanding Europe pay more, threatening to abandon allies who don't meet spending targets. Russia thought, perfect, NATO's falling apart, strike now while they're divided and America's distracted. There was just one problem with this brilliant analysis. Every single assumption turned out to be wrong. Because Russia prepared to fight NATO, the bureaucratic alliance dependent on American leadership. They didn't prepare to fight Europe, a militarized, unified, absolutely furious continent that decided it's done asking for permission. So what happened? How did NATO, the alliance Russia spent decades studying, transform into something completely different? Let's look at the numbers, because oh boy, the numbers are spicy. All right, pop quiz. How much did Europe increase defense spending between 2022 and 2025? If you guessed a lot, you're thinking too small. Try a 50% increase. In 3 years, the EU collectively spent 343 billion euros on defense in 2024, a new record. That's expected to hit 381 billion euros in 2025. For perspective, that's 1.5 times China's official defense budget, more than 3 times Russia's military spending, a 19% increase over the previous year alone. European NATO members spent $454 billion total in 2024, representing 30% of total alliance spending. But here's where it gets interesting. It's not just total spending, it's the intensity of spending. EU defense expenditure hit 1.9% of GDP in 2024, projected to reach 2.1% in 2025. That might not sound dramatic until you realize they went from 1.6% to 2.1% in 2 years. And then there's Poland. Oh, Poland. Poland is spending 4.7% of GDP on defense in 2025, highest in NATO. Higher than the United States, 3.5%. Nearly double the NATO target. That's $48.7 billion from an economy 1/10 the size of Germany's. Poland is outspending France, Italy, and Spain combined as a percentage of GDP. But the real story is in equipment purchases. Defense investments, meaning actual weapons, not salaries, grew by 42% in 2024 compared to 2023, reaching 106 billion euros. Projected 2025 investment, 130 billion euros. That's not incremental growth, that's a military shopping spree. Poland alone has ordered 1,000 plus modern tanks, 96 Apache attack helicopters, hundreds of HIMARS launchers, dozens of F-35 stealth fighters, Patriot air defense systems. Germany's rearmament includes 153 billion euros by 2029. France is ramping up production. Even Spain and Italy, the laggards, are committing to reach 2% GDP. Now compare this to Russia. Russia's spending 120 billion euros, 6.7% of GDP. Sounds impressive until you realize, when adjusted for purchasing power parity, Russia spent 462 billion euros in 2024. Europe's total? Over 800 billion euros in PPP terms. Russia's being outspent nearly 2-to-1 in actual purchasing power. And it's not just spending, it's what that money produces. Europe manufactured more tanks in 2024 than Russia, more artillery shells, more drones for Ukraine. Germany alone is targeting 700,000 artillery shells annually. The defense industrial base Russia thought was dead, it's roaring back to life. But here's the kicker that Moscow really didn't see coming. European publics support this. 75% of Polish citizens back increased military spending. Even in Germany, pacifist, Russia-friendly Germany, defense spending is politically popular. Europe isn't being dragged into rearmament by politicians. Citizens are demanding it because they watched Ukraine and realized, that could be us. So Russia prepared to fight an alliance spending 1.5% of GDP with no political will. Instead, they're facing a continent spending 2+% with public support for going even higher. But wait, there's more. Because spending is just the foundation. What Europe's doing with that money is where Russia's strategic assumptions completely collapse. Money's great, but money without capability is just an expensive failure. So let's talk about what Europe's actually building with all those billions. Remember Russia's plan to produce 2,000 modern tanks by 2036? Poland will have over 1,100 modern tanks by 2030. Germany's rebuilding its Leopard fleet. France, Spain, Italy are all modernizing. Combined European tank forces will exceed 3,000 modern platforms by decade's end, more than Russia's functional inventory. Europe's producing artillery ammunition at scales Russia can't match. K9 self-propelled howitzers rolling off production lines, Caesar systems being exported, PZH-2000s proven in Ukraine, and HIMARS, Poland's buying hundreds, Germany's acquiring them, France developing equivalents. Russia's artillery-centric doctrine just met opponents with longer range, more accurate, more numerous systems. Russia's strategy relied on overwhelming European air defenses with mass missile attacks. Except, Patriot systems are being deployed across Eastern Europe. Iris-T systems, protecting German airspace, SAMP-T systems from France and Italy, national systems from Poland, Netherlands, Norway. Europe's building a layered, integrated air defense network that makes Russia's missile threats increasingly irrelevant. And then there's the F-35. Poland's getting them. Germany ordered them. Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, Belgium, Italy, all operating F-35s. Russia's air defense systems struggle to detect stealth aircraft. Their S-400s that were supposed to dominate European skies? F-35s make them obsolete. Britain's Type 26 frigates hunting submarines. Germany's Type 212 submarines are among the quietest in the world. France's nuclear attack subs. Norway's advanced coastal defense. Russia's Northern Fleet, once intimidating, now faces opponents in every maritime domain. But here's where it gets really interesting. Europe's learning from Ukraine. Mass drone production, AI targeting systems, loitering munitions, FPV kamikaze drones, long-range strike drones capable of hitting targets 1,000+ kilometers away. Russia pioneered drone warfare. Europe's industrializing it at scales Moscow can't match. And unlike Russia's fragmented command structure, Europe's integrating everything: shared air defense networks, joint procurement programs, interoperable communications, standardized ammunition and logistics. NATO's military mobility initiative means moving troops from Portugal to Poland in days, not weeks. Russia's conscript army gets minimal training before deployment. European forces train with NATO constantly. Professional militaries with NCO corps, combined arms experience, and realistic exercises. Quality versus quantity, and Europe's building both.